That's right. Welcome in. It is officially high school football season in the great state of Idaho. This is Gem State Game Day. Welcome in every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Time throughout the high school football season. A rotating cavalcade of IdahoSports.com characters will come on to preview the upcoming weekend of action. And so here we are. Week one has arrived. A lighter schedule typically because you've got to basically get 10 practices in, which means you can't miss any if you want to play in this first week. A lot of teams opt for an extra week of practice and then they start in week two. Used to be called 0 week, but officially it's week one. But there are enough games to whet our appetite here on what should be a really fun week one edition of Gem State Game Day. Thank you for being with us live tonight on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. As you're hanging out tonight, we want to hear from you, the fans. We want to hear your comments, your questions. You can throw them in the chat. We'll throw them up on the screen. And also while you're hanging out tonight, if you could like, share, and follow. I'll put this up periodically to remind everybody, but the more you like this, the more you share it, the easier everyone can find it on replay, a little easier later on tonight or the next day or even Thursday or Friday, as it were. So without further ado, my name is Brandon Baney. I'm just the captain here tonight. Not like Derek Jeter captain, but just like steering the boat. Let's bring on our panelists here that are really going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. You know him from the North Idaho Prepcast. It is Ryan Scaggs. What's up, Scaggs?
What's going on? How's it going tonight?
I'm doing great. It is week one of football. How could it be any better, right?
All right, I was like thinking that on Friday. I'm like, man, this is the last weekend we'll have in a long time without football. Like college, high school, whatever. Like it's kind of like the quasi end of summer. So yeah, we're ready to get after it.
Yep, seriously. Let's bring on our next panelist. He is one of our many talented broadcasters from the Magic Valley down in District 4. Welcome him on for the first time, making his IdahoSports.com podcasting debut. He's broadcast for us a lot over the past year. Wyatt Helm. Wyatt, thanks for hopping on and doing this.
No, I appreciate it. It's exciting to be on here with some of the fellow experts, you know.
Well, don't hang out with us too long because any good information you learn will be erased at some point because we'll say something outlandish. We're probably what, Ryan, 5-1, like outrageous comments versus like insightful comments.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, that's pretty fair.
We'll let someone else keep track of that.
Yeah, careful throwing around the expert term with me in the room.
Right. For sure. So, okay, let's get to it. For those that don't know, this is a show for 11-man football in the great state of Idaho. We will talk 6A, 5A, 4A, and 3A, and then get you out the door and get you ready for what should be an exciting weekend of action here. As we go along, and as I said, I want to hear from you in the comments. Here's our good friend Sam Buffington from North Idaho doing the Lord's work, reposting this stream for us on X, making sure it gets out to as many people as possible. Thank you, Sam. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and bring up our interactive scoreboards here on IdahoSports.com, and that will help us kind of get the lay of the land and preview what's going to be, I think, a fun week one slate for 6A football, but a very light slate for 6A football. So here I'm going to share my screen. You might be wondering, what's the Friday Night Flash? This is something that we've done for years at IdahoSports.com. This is an interactive, in real time, updating scoreboard on Friday night. Usually myself or somebody else will be behind the scenes, updating all of the scores around the state as we get updates and results. And so Friday night, if you're wondering, I wonder how that Bonneville-Madison game is going, and maybe you're in Rigby, you can check the Friday Night Flash. Chances are we'll have some sort of a score update for you. So if you're looking for this on the homepage at IdahoSports.com, it is super easy. Here's our homepage. It's right there. Friday Night Flash. You just click that, and it takes you right to the page. So can't miss it. There are 3 games. So usually what we do is we ask each panelist to pick a game, pick a game that's interesting to them. Wyatt, this is your first time. I will let you go first. Of these 6A matchups, Madison at Bonneville, Legacy, Nevada at Highland, and Coeur d'Alene at Rigby, which is most appealing to you?
Well, I think I'll leave the one that Ryan wants to talk about to him. He's the expert up north. I think I'm interested in that Madison look. Them getting a new head coach, playing a week 0 game. I mean, that's got to be a little bit tough. I'm sure he's had his guys out all summer doing maybe some spring practices or something like that. But coming in, playing a team somewhat down the road, I think that's going to be an interesting look, seeing how both teams look early in the season, especially one team trying to kind of revamp, get a new offense, get a new defense, whole new look. See kind of how that, if it starts off maybe a little bit slow, or if they can kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah, Ryan, this is going to be an interesting matchup for sure. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, that's actually the game that I was kind of putting a pin in. I thought that was a pretty intriguing matchup. As much as I think Coeur d'Alene Rigby is going to be great, and we talked about it last week on our prep cast, but this Bonneville-Madison matchup and Coach Pancari coming in with his offense and being able to see what he can do with, some pieces left over from last year too. It's not like it's a full rebuild where it's been stripped down, and a scrappy Bonneville team that is looking to start building something towards the future. I think it's a good kind of early litmus test. There's no real danger for either team slipping up in this game necessarily, because I do think Bonneville could be a playoff team this year at 5A. I mean, odds are pretty good because pretty much everybody but 5 teams makes the playoffs, but I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but I think it's a great matchup. I look at those two teams, Madison, can their offensive line dominance continue that we saw last year? And Bonneville had fantastic running game, and what they were able to do. Can there, a little bit of magic happen at Bonneville on Friday night? Should be interesting to see.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So, okay, Madison and Bonneville. That's the first game we've talked about here. Ryan, what game is most appealing to you of the two that remain?
Coeur d'Alene Rigby, for sure. I mean, you've got defending state champs. They come in. I mean, you want to talk about star power, most notable players in the state. I think 2 of the more, touted players in Idaho, obviously, are the signal callers for both these teams. Caden Simmons for Coeur d'Alene and Flowers at Rigby. Coeur d'Alene's going to be an interesting team to watch, without having Kai Wheeler, on the outside and defense and offense. Coeur d'Alene's defense, though, I really look at it, they're stingy. I mean, we saw them last year in that game. They played lights out on defense, and they put handcuffs on Rigby early. They've got a great linebacking core. I mean, you look at the guys they got rotating through: Ben Murray, Ty Paulin, Dolan's back there, Palmgren, Christian Young at the safety position too. I mean, there's some names on that back end of that defense. They're going to be just fine. So it should be interesting to see how that goes. And if there's some big breaking news, you could run the ticker that no in the comments. But
all right, this is from Sam.
If this is true, I still think Coeur d'Alene's just fine. But yeah, it's I think that would be pretty groundbreaking. So
here's Sam Buffington on X. I heard Caden Simmons is not playing quarterback this year for the Coeur d'Alene Vikings. A few sources told me he is playing wide receiver, and Tanner Stern takes over as QB1. Okay, I can only go off of like what the coaches tell me when I email them for our preseason previews. The email I got back from the Coeur d'Alene coaching staff said Caden Simmons, quarterback/corner. It did have Tanner Stern also listed as quarterback/linebacker, of course.
Stern still got snaps last year, and he was still dynamic. He's a great athlete, and they're 1A and 1B. I mean, you stick Stern on any other team in the state of Idaho, he's the starting quarterback. It just so happened that Caden was also there too. So this doesn't, I don't know, maybe this is happening, but why would you take Wyatt? Let me ask you. Caden Simmons led all 6A passers last year, and he is one of the top returning passers in terms of yardage. He threw for over 2,700 yards last year. I think it was 28 touchdowns and only 10 interceptions. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at kind of some of his last year stats. I mean, averaging 260 yards a game that's most any coach would be just fine with that. I don't know, maybe a different dynamic has opened up, right? Maybe a little bit more options. I mean, if they feel that he can beat guys one-on-one or be kind of a red zone threat, maybe that's something that they're looking for. Building towards a future. I don't know. There's not a lot of, I mean, I'm not in those coaches meetings or anything like that, but I would assume that, I mean, they've had a long history of winning up in Coeur d'Alene, so far be it for me to tell them what I think.
So, saying that too, I don't put anything on anything until you see the players hit the field ultimately. I mean, Sam, you could be getting your leg pulled. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Caden goes to the outside. And I think he would be a great wide receiver. Just he's a good athlete. He gives you some length out there on the outside too. That Stern's build is more built for tight end. He's a bigger body. But the thing about Stern is he could drill you with his legs. That's the thing that I look at Stern. He came in and ran some of their Wildcat package, and he just bowls dudes over. So I mean, if you're looking for a dual threat guy, Stern kind of gives you that capability. He's got a very capable arm. I mean, let's just say the genetics are really good too. His dad was a phenomenal football player as well. But however that goes, it doesn't change the trajectory in my mind for the season. But yeah, and if it not being confirmed and it's kind of hearsay, or maybe Sam's giving away secrets that Coeur d'Alene was hoping to hold the cards tight to their chest pregame. Who knows? But yeah, or maybe it's getting leaked, so they start planning for something else, and it's
the other way. Yeah, Rigby
giving you a little bit more to think about.
Yeah,
paralysis by analysis, right?
Sam says he hasn't gotten it confirmed yet, and we'll see what happens in Rigby on Friday for sure. Yeah, long story short, Coeur d'Alene did lose 5 of their top 6 wide receivers in terms of yardage last year. So they're looking for younger players to step up and fill those gaps anyways. And we talked about with Rigby. Oh, now Sam says, oops. flag on the play on Sam. Yeah, for sure. No, you're good, Sam. Rigby's strength is really in its secondary. I believe they returned 3 or maybe even all 4 starters from last year, a couple of all-conference guys in Cannon, Korth, and Kobe Walker, and that Rigby defense in general is going to be really tough. And let's not forget, Coeur d'Alene beat Rigby in Coeur d'Alene last year, and then Rigby didn't lose again the rest of the year. 11-1. All the way to the 6A state title. So
maybe Rigby wants to lose to Coeur d'Alene again just so they can go on and win another state title. But it's like the good luck charm, right? Lose to Coeur d'Alene game 1, you go on and win it.
I don't know if Rigby ever wants to lose, but
yeah.
All right.
No, I think if Coeur d'Alene gets the running game going, I mean, it's whoever's back there at signal caller obviously opens up the passing game. They've got some size at tight end and some length there. So, I think it's going to be Kendallin and Paulin and Palmgren, whoever it is back there at running back at RB1. Can they put it between the tackles? Because there's a few good O-linemen coming back too. So it's not like the cupboards were empty after the graduation of those 4 out of 5 wide receivers.
Yeah, and Rigby on the other foot, they bring back their quarterback, Jacob Flowers. They bring back Golding at wide receiver, who flat out can fly. He did great last year. Amani Morrell in the backfield. He's almost like a slot receiver, running back type. So stars galore in that Coeur d'Alene Rigby matchup. I will wrap up with Highland hosting Legacy, Nevada. They went to Legacy High last year. It's in Las Vegas, and they actually defeated Legacy to kick off the season a year ago. So that was a pretty impressive win. This is a Legacy team that's good. They're already off to a 1-0 start in Nevada. They start a little bit earlier than Idaho does. They got to the state semifinals last year. They won the 5A state championship 2 years ago. So this is a really good program. Highland went down to Vegas and beat them 21-13 last year. And the thing with Highland was last year, they were replacing all 22 starters, which is just like unheard of in high school football, whether it was, graduation or they had a couple of players move out of state. They lost all 22 starters. And so they kind of had to start from scratch, still made the playoffs, lost to Middleton in the first round, 6-3. Yes, 6-3, lost there, but they return a lot of those same guys that got their lumps last year. Cedric Mitchell at running back. I'm thinking of the tight end, Almond. Belknap is back at quarterback. McKay Nalo, great linebacker on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm really excited to see if Highland can hold serve now on their home field against the Legacy team that they already beat last year. But those are the week 1 games for 6A, only 3 of them. The schedule will expand when we talk 5A football right after this break. You're watching Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com.
At Valleywide Cooperative, we're here when you need us. For 100 years, we have been here to help you with food, fuel, and good old-fashioned advice. And for us, serving is more than a job, it's a way of life, which is why we pour so much into the communities around us. We've employed hundreds of your neighbors. We take pride in that, and in giving back millions in sponsorships, grants, donations, and scholarships. It's our way of saying thanks. We're valley-wide, and yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're
Welcome back to Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com, coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. A lot of ways to consume this, no excuses. Brandon Baney with Ryan Scaggs and Wyatt Helm as we are breaking down the Week 1 landscape here in Idaho high school football. Let's take a look. Let's go back to the Friday night flash scoreboard at IdahoSports.com and take a look at what's going on in Class 5A football here in Week 1. Bonneville hosting Madison, we already talked about, but the other games on the board: Emmett at Canyon Ridge, Nampa at Century, Lewiston at Columbia, Preston at Shelley, Minico at Skyview, and Sandpoint at Twin Falls. Wyatt, I let you go first last time, so I'll let Scaggs bat lead off this round. What game is jumping out to you of the 7 we've got here in the 5A landscape?
I think 5A has probably got some of the juiciest games too. I'm going to go the obvious homer one, because I think because of the storylines. I mean, an improved Columbia team coming in this year against Lewiston. What the Zane Hobart coaching debut of 11-man football. What can the Bengals do in this game? I think there's, it's going to be interesting to see. Lewiston's got some great athletes. How are things going to look at quarterback with Way back there, or are they going to go to some of their other options too? Because I know that they've got 2 guys that are kind of different styles that they can do things with. Be really interesting to see too how that offensive line kind of gels together after a very, very good unit that they had last year. A couple pieces back, Fletcher Wadsworth, and some of the other guys that are in that mix that are going to be back. So it'll be interesting to see how things turn out for the Bengals and start Week 1. I think that's probably where my eyes go immediately.
Yeah, the first game of the Zane Hobart era, kind of a reset of the program. Not a lot of returning players, in terms of like guys that started last year. They lost pretty much almost all of the skill guys, right? Cole Arland at tight end, and Brock Thompson and Noah Carpenter and Yoder at quarterback, and some of those guys. And so I think it's Mason Way's team. I think he's going to quarterback these guys. Really, the question to me is the guys in the trenches. Can they give Way? Because Way's a good athlete, and they've got some good athletes at running back and receiver. Can they give him enough time to move and operate against a Columbia team that's actually going to be a lot better this year? Wyatt, Columbia is one of those teams that, and there's programs like this throughout Idaho that are just like constantly trying to pull themselves up into that next echelon, and they might have a playoff appearance here or there. For Columbia, they haven't been in the playoffs since I think 2019. Charlie Dotson in his 3rd year, though, has done a good job of turning things around, and a lot of coaches in the 5A Southern Idaho Conference kind of signaled that Columbia could be a sleeper this year. So I'm really intrigued to see on the Columbia side of things how the Wildcats are looking also.
No, I definitely, Columbia always seems to be maybe like just an athlete or 2 away. Historically, they've always been a really good wrestling school. They get some of these really tough kids. They've had a few years ago, they had a running back that went to Boise State and then, was over at College of Idaho and did well and was successful. They just, if they can kind of get a group of guys together, they have really good coaching, as you were talking about. Over the summer, I was talking with a few coaches who were kind of in the Nampa rec league, kind of these middle school teams coming up, and they were super excited about this young group of kids that were going to be coming up. I could see, coming in the future, if they can continue to maybe rack up some wins, keep good turnout, that Columbia could be a force kind of in the coming seasons. I think if these guys can kind of set the way and win some games, maybe beat a team or 2 that maybe they weren't supposed to, they'll win a couple of those games against maybe some of those low, but beat those teams like a Valley View, maybe upset those. Those are program defining kind of wins. And going against Lewiston is, what a great way to start the season and come in and, play your best. You get them at home. Those guys, I feel like a lot of these I've been looking at, a lot of these northern schools seem to be going south. And that plays a part. It's a big part of football and travel in Idaho. You almost have 2 different states. There's no really good way to get south. And so, that plays a part of it.
Yeah, you got to pretty much go through Montana or Oregon and Washington, somewhere that's not Idaho. You're going to an adjacent state to get there. Yeah, on the Friday Night Flash on IdahoSports.com, the home team is on top. So, for example, Lewiston at Columbia is how you would read that, or Sandpoint at Twin Falls is how you would read that. So that can be a little confusing sometimes, I know, but that is above my pay grade, as they say. So Columbia, the names to know: Brenton Tuison, great offensive tackle, awesome linebacker. He's a junior. He's a guy that people in the Valley, the Treasure Valley, know about, but I think statewide his star is really going to burst this year. He plays right tackle. Their left tackle, and he's a junior. Their left tackle is also a junior, Max Barnes. Those two bookend tackles are really good and really important pieces for Columbia this year. Gavin Healy is back at quarterback, honorable mention all-conference guy last year as a junior. Tyson Winkleman is top receiver, all-conference last year. He's a junior. And then running back Jackson Cheslak is a senior in the backfield as well. Those are all kind of guys you'll want to keep an eye on there for the Columbia Wildcats. Okay. Back to the big board. Wyatt, which 5A game are you most excited about?
I'm really looking forward to that Emmett going to Canyon Ridge. A part of the reason I'm intrigued, I live over here in the Magic Valley. People are really high on Canyon Ridge. And you go to their Idaho Sports preview, he's got 11 guys. Coach Alvarado's got 11 guys listed on returning players. I mean, not a ton of them are returning with honors, but you get that many guys out that are returning, that know the scheme. This is his third year coaching the team. I feel like that's really when you start to see what the coach wants, right? You get those kids that from freshman year or JV, they've been playing in the same system. So I think he's really excited about the group that he has. He has a couple really dynamic athletes. Brenner Coons is a really shifty kid. He is like lightning in a bottle. But then you flip side and you go over to Emmett and you get Coach Hargett, who has just seemingly the toughest team every year, regardless of division. They'll put everybody in a telephone booth and just go at it. It is smash mouth football. They always just have the toughest kids. You'll see some kid who's 155 pounds and on the offensive line and is just mowing dudes because they teach them like that in Emmett. It is. I did hear that they lost their quarterback that they were expecting to have. I saw him on the news. He had like a really terrible leg injury, which just, thoughts and prayers out to him. But regardless, they're just going to be really tough. So I think it'll be a really good look. I'm curious. It's going to be kind of contrasting styles, kind of a pass first type team versus kind of a run, get a 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But I'm really curious. I think it'll tell you a lot about both teams. Both teams seem to kind of sit in the middle of their conferences. If one comes out really dynamic, maybe you look for Canyon Ridge to be on top of, District 4 over here, and the same for Emmett. Maybe you expect them to be up there with BK and Valley View.
Yeah. Emmett is a team that almost took second place in the Southern Idaho Conference last year. Basically, it came down to them and Valley View. They had the lead in the fourth quarter, but Valley View and their electrifying running back Onyx Carson scored basically with 10 seconds to go, and they lost 18-14. That dropped Emmett to third place. They still went 6-4, still made the playoffs, and they do this as one of the smallest programs in Idaho. I'd have to double check in terms of 5A football. I would have to double check. I think if the next enrollment cycle started this year, I think Emmett would actually be a 4A school instead of a 5A. I could be wrong on that, but
yeah, I thought they're going down next year, I think is the deal.
It's usually them and Preston. They kind of are those guys that sit right on the edge of that and just kind of, Emmett's flipped and flopped, 4A, 5A for the last few years.
Yeah, and they play down in a lot of other sports, volleyball, soccer. I know, for example, this fall they are playing in the 4A level for competitive reasons. So yeah, Emmett is a team that, like you said, Jack Spanuelos was a guy they were really counting on a quarterback. Really awful leg injury. Thoughts and prayers are with him. Certainly, he seems very upbeat and has a good perspective on the injury. From what I saw, I think we probably saw the same news story about that. So. They always seem to find a way, and they are tough, and they'll play great defense for sure. And then, Canyon Ridge, Juan Alvarado, great head coach, really turning that program around. I don't know how to say this guy's name, the senior running back, Ivan Ceballos. I'm going to guess that's probably way wrong. It's spelled Ievin, Ivan Ceballos, but he is a guy that really played well last year too. I'm expecting big things from him this season. So
could be Ivan, but yeah,
could be Ivan. I'm trying to make it too fancy. And yeah, here's Coach Alvarado in the chat, guys. Remember the name Brenner Coons. Yes, we love it. We're excited to see those Riverhawks in action Friday night hosting Emmett. You mentioned Preston, kind of the other team that's perpetually, on that line of 4A, 5A. That's the game I'm going to go with. Preston at Shelley, a pair of first-year head coaches. Shelley working on their second coach in 2 years. Former outstanding Shelley running back and Idaho Vandal running back Jason Bird coached them last year. He moved on. Clayton Hall comes in from Oregon. Pretty good career over there. He's going to coach Shelley this season. And Preston got rid of the coaching staff like in May. And so like very late in the process, like early June, they hired Brant Reese, who's been an assistant coach at a couple of schools down in Utah. So I think he might have the interim tag still. I don't really buy into that. If you're the coach, you're the coach. But so that's going to be interesting to me. Preston is the defending champion from District 5. But not only did they lose the whole coaching staff, but Carter Perry, their fantastic sophomore quarterback who beat cancer his freshman year to come back and play, was the best quarterback in the league. Hunter May was also very good last year. One of the best quarterbacks in the league last year as a sophomore. Well, he transferred. He's at Green Canyon High School down in Logan, Utah now. So they are kind of starting over there. This conference to me between Pocatello, Century, and Preston is wide open. I have no idea which team claims it because they all have studs and they all have holes. And so which team is going to get better as the season goes along? The Shelley-Preston game is going to be kind of like a measuring stick game where both programs probably should make the playoffs. But the difference is, are they going to be hosting a first-round game, or are they going to be hitting the road to go somewhere? And the winner of this is going to have a significant leg up early on compared to some of their other 5A counterparts.
No, it's a huge max preps ratings boost game, in my opinion, because I think both these teams do end up in the playoffs realistically. Preston returns a surprising amount of starters. I mean, if you really look at the returning players they bring back, there is a lot of dudes coming back for that team. So I don't think, first-year coach be darned. It's not like the cupboard's bare. And Preston's and Shelley, for that matter, they're returning some nice pieces up front with their running game. I mean, we know how much they like to run the ball. I don't know if the offense is going to change much with a new coach, but I mean, you're returning 2 all-conference linemen and your all-conference running back who's pretty darn good. Bennett's not. I mean, he's a stud. So I look at that, and that's a really intriguing matchup. Like you said, I think that was the other one out there that I would have picked if I didn't pick the Lewiston-Columbia game, was that Preston-Shelley game.
Yeah, I remember preparing for the opening round of the playoffs last year, and I was watching some film from that season opener between Shelley and Preston. And by the time I went and looked at, like the regular season finale, like there were like 7 different guys on the field for Shelley. They just got decimated by injuries last year. Their top 3 running backs all suffered season-ending injuries. So hopefully the injury bug doesn't come to bite Shelley 2 years in a row, because I think they had a pretty good team last year otherwise, but they just had too many injuries. So it'll be interesting to see a lot of good games on tap. None of us talked about Sandpoint at Twin Falls, which is interesting. That is a long trip for Sandpoint. And then and I found out from head coach Ryan Knowles last week that they picked up, they were supposed to play a team next week. That team dropped them from the schedule, and they happened to pick up another road game at Teton. So Wyatt, in back-to-back weeks, Sandpoint is going to go Twin Falls and then to Driggs, Idaho, all the way over in East Idaho.
Jeez Louise, they might as well buy real estate in southeastern Idaho. Holy smokes, that's 2 monster trips.
I hope they got a charter bus. I mean, those are, you get in some of those yellow buses, and it's just, the padding is basically non-existent in those.
Yeah, so good luck to the Bulldogs as they travel south to Twin Falls. That'll be a big Max Preps game as well. Okay,
that's an intriguing matchup. Not to hammer too hard on that one, but you look at some of the players coming back. That's a deceptively, I think, decent game. And Sandpoint returning, Buck out a quarterback, I think is going to be the coaches went split as far as voting for who's going to win the league this year. It's pretty realistic if you look at, Maverick Gomez is back for Sandpoint, a great athlete too. So there's some players there for the Bulldogs. It's not like they're going to be, boat raced in a lot of games this year. I think that they could be pretty darn competitive.
Yeah, Maverick Gomez out at wide receiver was the state champ in the 200 this past spring on the track. So we know that dude can fly.
Speed
for
on
sure.
speed.
And then you look on the other side and you have, I mean, one of the best secondary players in the state. I mean, I feel like he's been in forever, but that Dalton Carter for Twin Falls. I remember there was somebody commented on a page last year where they were like just in awe of that kid. I mean, playing safety or corner or something like that. And I mean, he really does a good job. He's been a starter since he was a freshman. He's a senior this year, but I mean, it's nice when you're going against a guy like that you have a guy on the other side that you feel can potentially match up well.
Yep.
I've heard more than one coach say Dalton Carter, he's a problem. That's, a problem for the offense. That's for sure. So that's going to be a really fun one too. So again, here are all of the 5A games happening this Friday night in Idaho. And when we come back, there's a quick sneak peek, the 4A landscape, a lot of good, exciting games. We'll talk about them and break it all down when Gem State Game Day returns right after this on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way. Go. All the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Welcome back to Gem State Game Day on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Brandon Baney with Ryan Scaggs and Wyatt Helm breaking down the Week 1 landscape in Idaho high school football. Let's move on to Class 4A. Let's dial up the Friday Night Flash scoreboard here on IdahoSports.com. You'll notice a lot of crossover between 4A and 3A teams here out of the gates. Only one true 4A versus 4A game. It's at the very bottom here, Snake River hosting Homedale. Otherwise, it's all 3As taking on 2As, but still some really good matchups. Ryan, let's see. Actually, Wyatt, I'll go to you first this time. Wyatt, what's the 4A game you're most excited for?
So I'm kind of torn a little bit. The first one that jumps out to me is the Declo Teton game. The one thing I just wanted to add on one other game was that North Fremont, South Fremont, is because I saw that and I was like, I feel like they haven't played. And I went back and I looked in the Idaho Sports and they haven't played as far back as the Idaho Sports schedules go. And I just thought that was kind of something interesting that, they've obviously neighboring schools that probably have a lot of familiar faces. Should be kind of an interesting one. But I want to go back to the Declo Teton game. Kind of an interesting matchup. Declo lost a lot of kids that were really athletic. They had kids that would play for big classifications. I mean, they would play on these 4A, 5A, 6A rosters. I mean, just really athletic kids. Really well coached. I mean, they went to the state championship game, lost to a team they'd already beaten in that season in Westside. And then you see Teton, who, is only 2 years removed from playing in a state title game, lost their head coach and a dynamic player, but still has quite a few guys coming back. They have their quarterback coming back and a few offensive linemen. I think that one just kind of jumps out to me as kind of intriguing.
Yeah, so the IdahoSports.com archives go back to like 2010 or 2009, I think. Just doing some quick research here. It looks like the last time North Fremont and South Fremont played was 2007.
That's crazy.
And South Fremont won that game 34-0. So
I think about that. That's going to be a great gate kind of game. Like you think of the gate for that, like the whole community is probably coming out. I mean, those are the kind of games I love to see because you're going to have a lot of people there that might not usually go to a football game because it's kind of like the cross town. Cross kind of county, I guess, in this case, but
yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. And that Teton Declo matchup, Scaggs. Declo is a team that, they've gotten to the championship the last 2 years. They are always right there in the mix. There's just this gargantuan named Westside that's won 5 of the last 6 3A state championships, or what used to be 2A. I still really like Declo, though. I think they're just a solid program.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a bunch of returning starters, too. They lost some really good athletes, but they still got a lot of guys coming back. And then you look at on the other side of the ball in Teton. What are they going to do? New coach. obviously he, if I'm not mistaken, went to McCall Donnelly, their former coach, and took his son with him, which, leaves a little bit of a hole there. But, the Tetons historically been a pretty competitive program. And so, you look at, you're going to get kids in the Valley there and to turn out and play. And then they get, historically have always had some big dudes. That's a good, like, marquee, I think, first round matchup with those two teams. And being cross classification, that was a game that I did have on my radar. There's some other games there at 4A too that I really look at that I think are pretty intriguing.
Yeah, for sure. The names to kind of keep an eye on for Teton: Luke Nelson at quarterback. He also plays in the secondary. Two linemen coming back, both seniors, Aiden Moulton and Hiram Godfrey, both really good. Bradley Brown, the top wide receiver and DB, he's also a senior. So yeah, Teton still has got a lot of pieces in place, but against a very rigorous schedule last year. Let's not forget they did finish 2-7. And yet, despite going 2-7, their strength of schedule was so good, they still got into the playoffs as an at-large team. So that will be interesting to see how they handle what is going to be an equally challenging schedule again this year. And for Declo, second-year head coach Rhett Jones, a lot of good players back. Dax Gerard and Dane Gerard, both going to play linebacker for that Declo defense. Landon Silcock out at wide receiver. Preston Wharton's going to play running back. The big question for me is, how do they replace some guys in the trenches? Joey Gerard, Reenan Loper. Loper is now at Eastern Oregon University playing in the NAIA. So, and then of course, they lost a couple of high octane athletes in Bodie Brackenberry and Gavin Rasmussen. So I trust in the program. They do have some holes to fill, but very interesting to see how that Declo Teton game shakes out. All right, Scaggs, let's go back to the Friday Night Flash scoreboard. What game are you honing in on here for the 4A?
I think there's a pretty obvious one there right at the bottom, the true 4A game, Snake River and Homedale. Homedale returns so much this year. I know there is massive aspirations with this group. Looking, can they, get the monkey off their back? They seem to be semi-snake bitten by either Weezer or Sugar Salem. And so can they finally climb the mountain this year and find themselves hoisting the blue trophy? That's going to be an interesting, but I mean, the question I ask too is how far ahead on the schedule are they already looking? Because if you look at Homedale's schedule too, they've got some big dates coming up, and they come into Snake River, little bit of a rebuild, but they still got some really good athletes out there. This is a Snake River team I think coming into this year that's gonna be pretty darn hungry, and they've got some guys coming in, some name notoriety. I know that obviously basketball doesn't really apply, but I look at some of the kids that are out there just based on what I saw on the floor in the state championship game last year. And, a number of those kids are out there on the field. They've got athletes. I mean, you look at like Bryden Mortensen on the outside, and then they got some youngsters that they contribute, like guys like Gabe Young on the offensive line or Zed Hancock at running back and linebacker. I think Snake River is going to be better. Even though there's some changes going on, I think that they're going to be pretty solid. They've got a nice little core there. They could give Homedale some fits, I think, early on. Homedale's just got a lot of firepower, but I want to see this Trojan team on what they can come out of the gates with, if they can start strong, finish strong, because we've seen them go on nice runs and all of a sudden get snake bit somewhere along the line of the season. Can they just absolutely put the pedal down the floor and go through this season? Because it is a team, I think they've got state championship aspirations.
Yep. Let's talk about Snake River first. They did lose the Johnnies from last year, Johnny Jones and Johnny Walker, the great running back wide receiver duo. Yep. Mortensen's going to play quarterback. They're looking at guys like Royal Daly to step in at running back, and Preston Wheatley, a wide receiver. We email every coach in the state for our season previews that we do, and most of them, I'd say 85% reply back. And when Coach Daly for Snake River sent his form back in, Wyatt, he identified 8 offensive linemen that could be in the mix this year. Senior Jeremy Stuckey, senior Max Van Orden, senior Cole Preston, senior Michael Chavez, senior Kyler Orr, senior Lyndon Stone, and then 2 juniors, Brigham Van Orden and Gabe Young. That's a nice problem to have.
No, I agree. I mean, it's you think about the ability maybe to have guys only going one way. When you start to get into these 4A, 3A lower levels, you're a lot of these guys are expected. I mean, you're a dynamic athlete on the line. You're going both ways. So if you have the ability to spell guys, even maybe you're starting, but you don't have to finish the possession, or you can get a spell after a first down or two. I mean, that's huge. I mean, having guys on the line that that are fresh and able to move is really going to bode well going into that second half, that third quarter, that fourth quarter. If you're trying to run out the clock or prevent someone from running out the clock, and you have guys that are going to stonewall because they're running a bit faster or got a little bit more juice at the end. I think that's really what my first thought is you're just going to have guys that can kind of spell.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have for sure.
There's a lot of 12s if you look at that roster. I mean, there's a lot of seniors in that group, and as a coach, you like that, guys that have been around your program. You got some leaders on the field that can step up in big moments and have that mental fortitude to, overcome some adversity at times too. That's a big deal.
For sure. Here's Coach Juan Alvarado from Canyon Ridge in the chat. Every year we go to the Nampa football camp, and every year Homedale punches us in the face. Tough dudes for sure.
Yep.
Homedale real quickly. Xavier Uranga's back at quarterback for his senior year, started last year. A lot of the skill guys are back. Javid Blewett at running back is back. Cade Hall, who also ran the ball well last year, is back. Lucas Hall at tight end returns. The question is up front, offensive line. They did lose a couple of guys, and they lost their top two receivers, Luke Henry and Rafa Quensa. So my question is, how do they replace those wide receivers? But Homedale definitely still in the driver's seat, and what's going to be a really tough Snake River Valley Conference. And every week they're going to be tested. They went out and scheduled like a state champion hopeful should. And really, if Sugar Salem didn't exist, Homedale probably wins a couple of titles. I mean, over the past 6 or 7 years. I mean, they just every year, semifinals or championship, they fall to Sugar Salem. I had somebody from Homedale tell me this, and they were kind of half joking, but kind of half not. But like in Homedale, sugar is a swear word. Like, sugar. So, yeah, we'll see. The game I'm going to hone in on, guys, is Soda Springs at American Falls, 2A or 3A versus 4A. American Falls is the preseason favorite. So move aside Snake River, two-time defending conference champ. The Beavers are getting all the preseason love. They do bring back some really high-impact players, a lot of three-year starters back for American Falls. Zach Grigg at quarterback and DB. You think about Ty Smith at linebacker. He's a three-year starter. They have some really good athletes. I'm excited to see American Falls. Okay, they've been kind of the underdog that's kind of caught teams looking ahead the last couple of years. Now they're the team coming in with expectations. How does that approach change? How do they react to that? And then Soda Springs, it is all about this new coach, Colby Fangman. He's grew up in Texas, coached in Texas forever. He's been a coach in Utah, Oklahoma, Arizona, and his son, Xander Fangman, is, the hype around him is pretty real. I'll admit, I haven't really seen him play much. I haven't seen a ton of film, but I'm reading reports online that, he goes to all of these QB camps. I did see a picture of him with Baker Mayfield. He went to the Baker Mayfield quarterback camp in Oklahoma when he lived down there. He's a junior. And so one player like that at the 3A level can really, change a team's fortunes. And they bring back a lot of good skill athletes too. So Soda Springs is a team that I'm interested in. I want to see how this Fangman father and son coach QB combo does. So really just the element of the unknown.
Yeah, and you throw in the RPO offense that coach is hoping to run down there too at Soda Springs. I mean, that's going to give, so you look at smaller school guys, they don't get a platoon as much. I mean, you start throwing in the misdirection, the RPO reads and everything else, you're going to run those defenses ragged. I mean, especially if you try to be in rapid fire offense. I mean, you're essentially adding an extra player into the game every play just based on speed alone. But yeah, no, I think you can only go up too. I mean, Soda went winless last year, so they get 100% better if they pick up a win this year. So, that I don't think they're going to go winless based on what the pieces they have coming back and the hype around the program. I think, people are really high on coach and especially his son. And it would be great to see a nice story this year going, 0 for 9 last year, be able to turn things around and possibly push for a, competitive finish within the conference.
The only caveat is they are in a conference with Westside, Declo, Aberdeen, Malad, all playoff teams last year. And 3 of those 4, Aberdeen, Declo, Westside, all made the semifinals. So it is by far the toughest conference in 3A football. We will talk more about 3A football. Hey, some of these games you see here, like Filer at Wendell, Moscow hosting Grangeville. Yeah, they'll show up on the 3A section too, okay? So we've still got opportunities to talk about those games and more. It's our 3A breakdown when Gem State Game Day continues right after this on IdahoSports.com.
At Valleywide Cooperative, we're here when you need us. For 100 years, we have been here to help you with food, fuel, and good old-fashioned advice. And for us, serving is more than a job, it's a way of life, which is why we pour so much into the communities around us. We've employed hundreds of your neighbors. We take pride in that, and in giving back millions in sponsorships, grants, donations, and scholarships. It's our way of saying thanks. We're Valleywide, and yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're here for you.
Back on Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com, coming to you live every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Pacific on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. If you're hanging out tonight, please like, share, and follow. This will help everyone else that isn't here live tonight find this a little easier on replay. Brandon Baney with Ryan Scaggs from North Idaho, Wyatt Helm from the Magic Valley. We have arrived at our final breakdown of the night, gentlemen. Let's go back to the Friday night flash scoreboard on IdahoSports.com. It is the Class 3A breakdown. You see some games we've already talked about, Soda Springs at American Falls, Teton at Declo, etc. There are a couple of true, actually one true all 3A matchup. Firth is going to make the trip across the state to play New Plymouth. And also we see for the first time here St. Mary's going up to Rathdrum to play the Lakeland JV. So that'll be an interesting debut for new coach Hayden Humphrey. A lot of good games here. Some we talked about already, Scaggs, but what's the 3A game that's got your eye?
I mean, we already talked about Declo, Teton, and American Falls, Soda Springs, so I got to scratch those ones off my list. I'm going to go Moscow, Grangeville. I'm going to stick in my region, in my neck of the woods, because I think these are two teams. There's a lot of questions around Grangeville this year. We saw Priest River burst onto the scene, and now they're the impending favorite. But Grangeville's trying to keep their stranglehold on what's been dominance in their conference for what seems like ever. But they've got, some pieces back. Gage Smith on the defensive line, Shoemaker at DB. And, I mean, they've got a decent amount of their defense back from last year's team. I mean, they're returning a massive amount of those starters. Obviously, they're missing some big pieces from last year, Poxleitner at running back and Goikoa at quarterback. How can they replace those guys? And, so I think, it's good. Coach Adams is as good as anyone in North Idaho. And I say North because I'm kind of drawing the line at the Salmon River, but at the time zone, but, he does a great job. And, with all those pieces, there's not many seniors though. That's the thing. It's a pretty young group. They're kind of green in the gills. Some of these guys have been waiting in the wings for a few years for their chance to see what they can do. And they get to take on a Moscow team that's returning some really nice pieces from a turnaround season last year. I mean, you look at what the Bears are bringing back, and Finney Needham on the offensive and defensive line. He's an absolute animal in the weight room. I don't know if you've seen him in person, but his dad's a competitive weightlifter. He's won national championships in weightlifting, and Finney's not far from being a chip off the old block. He is an absolute specimen. You've got Paul Dixon up front on the O-line, D-line. George Stott's another one, defensive line and tight end. Keaton Fry is just a freak athlete. He is all over the field. He was dominant last year within the conference. He's back again this year. Mason Helbling is another one of those nice little gadget players to have out there. And then Jericho Pike plays at linebacker with his hair on fire. There's, how are they going to replace Noah Velasco at quarterback? I think that's going to be kind of the big question mark, is who takes over the reins, and are they able to keep the offense rolling? Because they shorted out scoreboards at times last year. And Grangeville's played really stingy defense. It's going to be a nice little cross conference matchup, cross classification, I should say, with the Bears kind of being a true 5A team, but being able to petition down. But they're taking advantage of what's there for them. And so, that should be a fun game to watch and see who comes with what this year, especially with eyes up here in the CIL and the IML, what both these teams look like.
Yeah, that new quarterback for Moscow could be a freshman, Wyatt Cross, a name to keep an eye out for, according to Coach Bafus when we talked to him preseason. So I really do think Wyatt, last year, Moscow, of course, lost to American Falls on their home field in the opening round of the playoffs. They had the lead late, gave it up late, but they were a team that was on fumes. They had so many impact players that were injured. And so I really thought Moscow, if they had been healthy, maybe would have won that game, could have gone a little deeper. So this is a Moscow team that knows, hey, this is our last year at 4A. We're definitely getting kicked up to 5A after this cycle. So they're pushing all their chips to the middle of the table. That to them, that to me makes them pretty dangerous.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's super interesting. I think Moscow is one of those teams that in general in 4A, nobody really knew anything about them because, I mean, they like Ryan said, they were lighting up scoreboards, putting up these really good numbers against some schools that, maybe some Washington schools, if I remember right, that and it's hard to judge that, especially as someone that lives on the other side of Idaho. But they were going undefeated and they were doing really well. And I mean, obviously had some injuries towards the end, but I mean, I think momentum is such a huge thing. And if some of those kids that, they were kind of maybe down in the dumps, being at 5A, getting beat up, that's the whole reason that they're allowed to kind of petition down, is so that they can get motivation and kids out in the program and kind of hit the ground running as they move back up. And I'll say props to Grangeville for, going against a team that's got the enrollment of a 5A school. I mean, that I feel like that does kind of embody what Grangeville is. They're always kind of these tough, gritty kids. I feel like they always, playing them in high school, they always had the biggest kids. They had just these big kids, and they were always strong and tough. And so I props to those guys for scheduling them. And I think that's a really great matchup.
Part of it is they want to challenge themselves. Part of it is they ain't got a lot of options. They're kind of like the tip of the iceberg there in North Idaho. So anything that's close-ish, they'll take. So
save on travel, right?
That's right. Okay, back to the Friday Night Flash scoreboard here. Here's our 3A games. Wyatt, what's the 3A game you've got your eye on?
So I think I'll go with one that's maybe off the wall a little bit, and that's mostly because I think some of these games are showing the Friday games. There is a couple games on Saturday. So there's actually a Ryrie-Melba game, which I find is super interesting. Ryrie going all the way across the state to, the Treasure Valley area. Ryrie's got a lot of talk about them in that conference, which historically has been really tough with North Fremont and a few of those other schools, Firth, who's always consistently good. I've heard really good things coming from the Ryrie side. They seem to be really excited about the group of guys they have. And then you see Melba, who's, historically it's kind of, usually they're at the top of that WIC with them and Nampa Christian and some of those. They were a little bit down last year. They lost a few athletic kids, but they were pretty young. They have a lot of kids coming back. And I think they're looking to kind of get going. They had a first-year coach last year, second year this year. So I think it's a good. We've used the word measuring stick a few times. I think that's a good way to say it with both of these teams that were kind of in the middle of their conferences last year, and see kind of what to expect for this year. Right? Are we going to be able to measure up with the betters of our conference? Or are we going to be kind of in the fighting for staying off the bottom?
Yeah, boy, big mea culpa here, Wyatt. I totally spaced that. Yeah, there's some Saturday games, and the Friday Night Flash, only shows Friday night.
You don't even have our biggest game on there, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So really quickly, here's what we got. There's no 6A games.
I want to change my answer.
There's one 5A game, but it's a 5A 4A crossover right here. Lakeland at Bonners Ferry. Then we got some juicy 4A matchups here. Timberlake and Sugar Salem are going to meet in Anaconda, Montana, home of the Copperheads. Little meet in the middle game there at Mitchell Stadium. Coal Valley Christian is going to play Marcine. These games are, Coal Valley Christian doesn't have their own field yet, so they play at Owyhee. Just a little heads up if anybody wants to see Coal Valley Christian in action this year. Usually they're playing at Owyhee, usually on Saturday nights because the Storm are playing on Fridays. We got Lakeland at Bonners Ferry, and then obviously Scaggs, a game we need to talk about just quickly. Kimberly hosting Fruitland. They went to Fruitland last year. We remember how that game went. They had the lead. Kimberly had the lead. Fruitland rallied back. They scored twice in the fourth quarter in the final 7 minutes or so, pulled one out of the fire. Then the rematch came in the state quarterfinals in Kimberly, goes to overtime. Kimberly, Fruitland has the ball. They score first, kick the extra point. Kimberly then gets the ball. They decide to go for the 2-point conversion and the win. McCrae Bruning hits Mason Jensen. Kimberly walks out with the OT win by a point. So that is obviously a game that is must watch, and it's on IdahoSports.com Saturday night.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I might change my answer to that game. Sorry. You were just offering what was in front of us. But yeah, I mean, you look at the names on there too. I mean, you got the number one recruit in the state of Idaho at offensive line for Fruitland and Kelvin Obot. And then Titus Vidlak at quarterback. I mean, that kid as a sophomore last year was phenomenal. I looked at him how can you build on the type of season that he had? I thought he was great. Now in his junior year, he's going to just absolutely push that offense. Fruitland is a team that I had sneaky good. And then Kimberly is the team I really look at that I think kind of gets overshadowed by the, Homedales and Sugars of the world. I mean, and Wyatt, you'll know quite a bit about that. But this Fruitland or this Kimberly team, they just bring so many good pieces back too. And they're well coached. Excuse me, and they're gritty. I mean, they just play tough physical football. And then, some of the more exciting games we saw last year in 4A football came out of that Kimberly team. And that's going to be an absolute dynamite week 1 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Kimberly, same schedule that they had last year. They have Fruitland, they have Homedale, they have Sugar, they have Snake River. They play in the Rocky Mountain Rumble. I mean, it's a gauntlet of a schedule. I mean, and that's awesome. They felt like that was really what propelled them. They beat Sugar last year at Sugar. They felt like if they hadn't they got kind of housed by Homedale the week before. That kind of prepared them. Kids took things a little bit more serious, prepared them for that. I think it's a super intriguing matchup. I mean, there's going to be a lot of kids that will play college football in that field. I mean, You said a couple of them for Fruitland. On the Kimberly side, you got Joe Barrett and Titus Osterman, who both have offers. There's kids that are going to be playing football well after high school. I mean, it seems like historically in the state of Idaho, we've had you get Colson Loveland, you get the Gatlin Bears, you get some of these kids that kind of play in the middle classifications that are just super dynamic athletes that go and play, high level college football. And this game is proof of that.
Well, and you left off one big name in there, the weapon, man, Eddie Paz, man, the kicker.
Yeah. Hey,
he is an absolute weapon out there.
True. Yeah. I mean, touchbacks, hitting game-winning field goals. I mean, how nice is it to just always know you got an extra point? I mean, that's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
Made the game-winning kick against Sugar Salem in Sugar. So that was, a lot of fun. Okay. Hey, we were talking about Grangeville. Our good friend Hayden Eulencott, who joins Ryan on the North Idaho Prepcast. Late to the party, I know, but Gage Smith will play quarterback for Grangeville. Well, I didn't know all that, all right? I thought, obviously, great defensive lineman, was the lineman of the year last year in the Central Idaho League. Excuse me in my assumptions. I assumed he would be an offensive lineman as well. You'll see when we wrap up the show here why I'm doing the mea culpa on Gage Smith right now, because I have him listed as an offensive lineman. And he's going to be a quarterback, so that's cool. But
who makes the switch from O-line? I mean, that's not the position switch that you normally see, O-line to QB. It's usually like wide receiver or running back or something like that steps in. That's awesome.
Well, and maybe I don't know if he played O-line last year. He definitely played D-line, and he was the conference lineman of the year. I assumed that went to a two-way lineman, but again, I made some assumptions, and so. Well, just
Aiden will fill me in on Wednesday, so yeah.
Yeah. Again, this would have been helpful yesterday.
See, there it is. Yeah. Okay, never played O-line. He was just a dominant D lineman.
Well, I'm going to go change the Grangeville preview that I wrote as soon as we're done here on Chem State Game Day. Okay, we did want to highlight as well the Saturday slate of games at the Class 3A level. Only 2 of them. We mentioned Marcine and Coal Valley Christian, and then Melba Ryrie at Melba, as Wyatt talked about there. So, okay. Well, that's the schedule of games happening this week in the great state of Idaho. Something I wanted to wrap up this week's show with, something that we do. Boy, Hayden just continuing to twist the knife here. He stepped in last year a couple of games and played well. Well, you could tell I didn't do any Grangeville games last year, Hayden. Sorry, I didn't get to follow them around all season like you did. So
I mean, they're like 125 miles away from me, but yet somehow they're still in the same area. So yeah.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun, guys, because for the first time ever, we decided to do preseason all-state teams for all 6 classifications, 6A all the way down to 1A. We thought, hey, what a great idea to recognize some of the great players ahead of the season. It might be fun to see how many of these players wind up on the all-state team that comes out at the end of the season. And so those are up on our website right now, IdahoSports.com. I thought we could just look at them super quick here to wrap up Gem State Game Day. Here is the 3A team, and you'll see right away the problem here. I've got Gage Smith listed as an offensive lineman. So obviously,
strategy, Brandon. We'll see how it pays off for you.
This is super easy. I'll just take. I'll tell you what I'm going to do right now, because I know for sure Cameron Schuldberg from North Fremont is a two-way lineman. I'll just swap those guys. That'll be an easy fix. But everybody who tuned in here live tonight can see what a big idiot I am. So that's a lot of fun. This is the 3A offense. Give me one name, each of you, quickly, that you're most excited to see play this year.
Nate Fagert from Priest River is an absolute animal at running back. He plays both ways, too. He's a phenomenal linebacker, too. You could have had him on both sides of this list, but people in the state of Idaho heard a little bit about him last year. You're going to learn a heck of a lot about him this year. He is an absolute force at the running back position.
Yeah, one name, Wyatt.
Yeah, I think I'll go on the D line, Dylan Fahey from Melba. I mean, he's been a starter on varsity for a lot of years, finally being a senior. Big, strong kid. Played outside backer for a while, kind of moving down probably to the D line as he's gotten a little bit older, a little bit bigger. Just hits like a truck. I mean, I've seen a few plays and stuff that he's had, and a real strong, just the right kind of mean, right? Where it's just enough that you're like, not over the top by any means, but just enough grit that, you don't want to be on the other side.
Right. I'll give you a special teams name to watch. He's a kicker and punter. Johnny Bonilla from West Jefferson, from West J, a true threat to step out 35 yards and drill it. He had the game-winning kick against Wendell last year, I believe. And I think Johnny Bonilla easily is going to be an all-state kicker, at least be in consideration for it. So Johnny Bonilla from West Jefferson. I think West J is going to be better than people think this year too. People might be sleeping on the Panthers a little bit. Okay, here's our 4A team, guys. Let's take a look here at the offense. Ryan, give me one offensive guy here. Or actually, let's flip-flop this time since Wyatt went defense. Wyatt, give me one of these offensive guys you're excited to see.
I think I'm going to go with Blewett from Homedale. Big kind of strong kid, got the bulk of the carries last year. Deceptively fast, I would say, just really a downhill kind of runner, bigger bodied kid. They lost quite a few of the O linemen, but when you return a running back like that, it just really makes your life a lot easier as you're trying to get new offensive linemen back into the program and get some varsity experience.
Scaggs, let's take a look at that 4A defense and give me one name.
I was going to go even a District 3 player. I was going to pick a North Idaho kid if I went offense. But if I go defensive side, give me Jericho Pike. He's a stud. Like a linebacker. Kid plays like an animal. He hits like a ton of bricks. He's like a dump truck going downhill without brakes. And, just a phenomenal linebacker. He's a very, very good player. I think he'll be, at the end of the year, that you want to talk about locks for all state. I don't know if anybody's ever a lock, but if he stays healthy, that's a kid that's probably going to be there at the end of the year.
Okay. Let me try and guess which guy you were going to shout out. Was it Joker Joyce?
It was.
Yeah.
The Joker.
Yeah. Really fun player, all-state DB, all-state receiver, good return guy as well. So, yeah.
Really dynamic track athlete, too.
Yeah, he's going to change things, and having that weapon at McCall Donnelly, that is going to be a game changer for that group. They're going to be, the Vandals are going to be right there.
And there's another Grangeville quarterback defensive end combo, Gunnar Newman. He's QB1 for McCall Donnelly this year. So maybe the QB D end is not as uncommon as we think. 5A.
Aiden Simmons playing D end this year now, Sam?
Yeah, can we get a check on that? Okay, here's the 5A offense. Scaggs, give me one guy you're excited about.
On the offensive side, I think with a little bit of changing of the guard, running back isn't as deep of a position for Lakeland this year. Chase Taylor last year, I was super high on him. Great athlete. If they can just get the ball in his hands, he's a highlight guy. That is a very exciting ball player. Lakeland, I think, is going to be I don't know if they're going to have the run they had last year. They're going to be equally just competitive. They're just a gritty group of kids, and they're coached extremely well, and they play very, very hard. I would take him or Will Peed. Will Peed is an awesome kid, and he is very good at his position too. So I'll give some love to an O-lineman too.
For sure. Here's Joel from the East Idaho Prepcast in the chat, guys. This is about the 4A team. Love the American Falls players on here, Zach Grigg and Ty Smith. They were close to making big headlines last year. Watch out this year. First game is a good litmus test, as we talked about with Soda Springs, certainly. Okay, here's the 5A defense. Wyatt, give me one name that's jumping out to you. There's some dudes.
Well, we already talked about him. I'm just going to shout out Dalton Carter again. He's been first team, I think, like 2 or 3 years in a row. So we might as well just he's in bold because he's already in. But I'm going to go in the same conference, Bodie Baker from Minico. We've said this about every defensive player, but just hits hard. He's going to have a lot of expectation on him to kind of lead that team. They lost a lot of starters. I think 16, 17 starters both ways on that Minico team. So there's going to be a really big amount of expectation. So, he's going to be an athletic kid, but he's also going to have to be a verbal kind of making sure everyone's getting in line and stuff like that, just as the expectation of him coming back and kind of being that guy, taking a leadership role, not just being a really good linebacker.
And I mentioned this last week on our season preview show. I'm really excited for this guy, Hugo Masaga, the linebacker from Nampa. In the preseason, we always ask coaches hey, who are some other players in your conference that you think could be studs or we should keep an eye on? And I'm not joking, 4 or 5 of the coaches all said the linebacker from Nampa. I don't think any of them knew how to spell his name, but they were just the linebacker from Nampa. So I'm really excited to see what he could do this year.
I think there's a few guys on there too that'll probably play themselves into some offers that are juniors on that list that are going to have heck of years. They're going to be phenomenal.
For sure. Okay, and we wrap up with 6A, where apparently Caden Simmons may or may not be quarterbacking, but I put him at quarterback on this team for sure. Wyatt, give me somebody from this 6A offense.
Man, you look at that list of kids, and it's basically the list of kids that are going to go play college football places. And they're big programs. You got a kid going to BYU. You got, some of these kids going to big schools. I'm going to go with the kid going to Boise State, Ryan Brecky. Big Boise State fan here. So, but I'm super excited for him. He is, if you have time, go look at that kid's huddle film. He's got a couple just one-handed catches on the sideline. He really didn't get a ton of targets last year. I think almost stats probably looked a little bit better the year before, but part of that's also teams just know he's a problem. He's a big bodied kid that's just going to box out kids well and really just go get the ball at the highest point.
I remember watching film of Ryan Brecky. He's started since he was a sophomore at Hawaii, and I was like, who is this guy? And I was like, this guy's going to be a huge prospect by the time he's a senior, and that definitely checks out there. Okay, Scaggs, here's the 6A defense. Give me a guy you're looking at.
Gosh, I've been sticking in District 1, and I don't know. I don't want to tick off any of the coaches up here, but I'm trying to look through that list, and I'm like, man, there's so many good dudes.
Yeah, so here's a couple. Sam Hayner from Timberlines going D1. LaGary Mitchell from Meridian's going D1. Drew Holman, you saw him in the playoffs last year.
He was a dude, man. I'll go Drew Holman. I'll give some love to the Vikings of Middleton. Drew Holman was a freaking animal last year in that game at Coeur d'Alene. I know Coeur d'Alene won that game, but that kid was absolutely sideline to sideline the entire game. And just gave every ounce of himself. And so I'll stick with Drew Holman at linebacker. That kid's an absolute beast. I'll give some love to another district as much as I wanted to be a homer, but yeah.
And again, this is just something we did for fun for the first time ever, preseason all-state teams. We just wanted to recognize as many kids as possible ahead of the season and tell you who the high impact players are going to be. So those are all on our website at IdahoSports.com. If you want to digest those at your leisure, you can certainly do that. So
I'm surprised Wyatt didn't take Burnham, but yeah.
He's a big, strong kid too.
He is a free. I'm a believer.
Big. He's almost deceptive. He runs through kids, but he's, not the biggest kid. I don't know. It's honestly really impressive.
Yeah. No, I became a believer when I saw them play at Coeur d'Alene last year. As soon as he touched the ball, he got 2 drives under his belt, and he had, I think, a touchdown and almost like 75 yards in 2 different drives. I'm like, yep, that's a dude. Like Noah Burnham is he's the truth. Like he is a legit ball player.
And it really pained me with the quarterbacks because there's like 4 that are like really good. Austin Ramsey from Eagle was the player of the year in the SIC last year. Jack Brandt from Timberline, legit going D1 to UC Davis. But I'm like, I look at what Simmons and Flowers did last year, and I just can't supplant either one of those guys. And so some of these choices were really hard. It was really like there's nobody from Boise High. Trevor Schoolfield, great quarterback from Boise High. Eli Rich, any other year probably makes it as a wide receiver, but man, this group of receivers and tight ends this year in 6A is
I think that offensive line group is outstanding. I mean, you look at Bronson Best and Apelu and Perkins, Scholes is in there, and like Tanner, like Price. There are freaking dudes. I mean, that's one thing about State of Idaho this year. I think it's probably one of the deepest years I've seen in recent memory at the offensive line position. It is absolutely stacked. I mean, you go top to bottom, 6A through 1A, there are guys everywhere.
All of these receivers and tight ends signed with D1 programs, all of them. And some of them will play tight end in college, certainly. Like Preston McDaniel from Thunder Ridge, probably a tight end, not a receiver, but I had to get him on the list. And then of this list, Jax Tanner, Andrew Price, both D1 guys. This guy is probably going to go D1, Mason Perkins from Hawaii. I mean, there's like on this list alone, this offense, like it might all be D1 guys by the time it's all said and done. We'll see. So
Best will end up somewhere. I'll say that. Like Best will end up somewhere. He's going to have him. He's been playing kind of anonymously a little bit at Lake City. I think that team gets overlooked. They're going to be better this year, but that's a kid I look at that I might have picked him if we went offense just because I think how dominant he is up front. He's in North Idaho, between him and Skulls at Post Falls. Those are the 2 1A, 1B right there.
Even the kicker, Sawyer McClendon, ranked nationally. I think top 50, I think, in the country for national kickers. So I mean,
crazy.
It's just studs everywhere. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. All right. Thank you for tuning in to Gem State Game Day, everybody. Wyatt, hey, your first podcast in the books. You did great.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a blast. I love talking football. So
absolutely. And Scaggs, you're an old veteran at this point. Good work as always.
Marginal effort from me. Yeah.
And on that note, keeping expectations low. Hey, and all joking aside, enjoy the football this Friday night, wherever you're traveling. We hope you get there safe. Of course, we'll have the Friday night flash for you on IdahoSports.com. And again, really easy to access. Here's the homepage, IdahoSports.com. You click right here, Friday night flash, and it takes you to our live in real time scoreboard where these will have numbers next to them once the games kick off on Friday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also want to let you know at the homepage, IdahoSports.com, if you're curious what games we're going to be broadcasting, you click right here on game streams. Here's all the games we're broadcasting this week for you guys. Let's go 19 to the 20. Oh, that's 2026. Let's go 2025. Okay, 1 second. Okay, here's the week 1 games. Butte County and Kendrick, Coeur d'Alene taking on Rigby. We've got great.
Oh, you got to update that again because you left out the Saturday games. But
go 23rd.
Oh, 23rd. yeah, 23rd. Yep, that's just Friday. Okay, so Butte County, Kendrick, Coeur d'Alene, Rigby, Grangeville, Moscow, South Fremont, North Fremont. First time since 2007 those two have played. And then a doubleheader in the Magic Valley on Saturday, Logos and Hagerman, 8-man football, and Fruitland and Kimberly. That is going to be so much fun. And then finally, on the homepage, IdahoSports.com, we have brought back the Gridiron Game Picks. That's right, our weekly contest where you could win $25 if you pick the most games correctly in a given week. And if you are the winner for the regular season, you get $100 cold, hard cash. All you have to do is click Submit Edit Picks. You're going to log in. That's my login. And then you go to you go to Game Picks, weekly contests, and then you make your picks. I'll start making my first pick right here. I'm going to pick American Falls to beat Soda Springs. You go through and you pick all the games. You compete against everybody else and the IdahoSports.com broadcasters. It's a whole lot of fun. And again, if you're the high winner of the week, you get $25. If you're the winner for the season, $100 on top of that. So, if you do it right, Scaggs, this could be a nice little source of income for you throughout the fall.
not for me. But no, actually, I did pretty good last year. I think I tie for the lead or something like that at the end of the year after. Yeah, I did good last year. Year before last, I sucked, but last year I was good. But
so
I don't. I don't know if you could pick against me very easily, but I kind of go off the board. But yeah,
right. So Wyatt, you'll have to start participating in the Gridiron Game Picks. It's right there on the homepage at IdahoSports.com.
As long as I beat Paul, I'm good.
That's not hard.
Paul loves the underdog, man. He loves the underdog. Sometimes I see his pick and I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean,
that's a bold.
Maybe. Technically, it's possible.
He'll go into, I know this is 8-man, but it'll be like, oh, Leighton Vander Esch played at Salmon River. I'm picking Salmon River. And I'm like, Paul, that was 15 years ago.
He's now a retired NFL player.
Yeah. Salmon River and Dietrich. Yeah. I'll take Salmon River.
Right. So again.
Salmon River fans, just saying.
Fridays and Friday nights in Idaho. IdahoSports.com is going to be your spot. And right here at the top of the homepage, game streams. You can tune into our broadcasts, Friday Night Flash, get the scores from the other games when they all go final right here on the scores and schedules. And then the Gridiron Game Picks, get those picks in before the first game kicks off. It's going to be so much fun. We're looking forward to the high school football season. Thank you for tuning into Gem State Game Day, everybody. For Ryan Scaggs and Wyatt Helm, my name is Brandon Baney, and we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.